Hello, welcome back to Billy Ho Sports Toga. Yes, indeed. Once again, spotlighting Saratoga this weekend for stakes racing action. We have the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes for 4-year-olds and up. That's going to be our focus for today. Also going to have some great content coming out this week. We also have this Friday the Saratoga Oaks, and so a couple stakes that night. So we'll do like a little Friday night double feature like we did last week. And on Saturday, loaded day with several graded stakes. So definitely subscribing to the channel and clicking that like button will go a long way to spreading my content. I really do appreciate that. Jump over on X and give me a follow over there at Billy Ho Sports too. We've got a field of 12 horses to discuss, so let's get right into it. Race 11 is the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes. We're going 9 furlongs on the dirt, 4-year-olds and up. Post number 1, post time. Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell, the husband, will be riding. He's a regular jock. And just this horse just wins, no matter what. But did just run second behind National Treasure. But it's won like 6 out of his eight starts or something in that range. I'll show you when we get to the past performances. So was behind National Treasure in the Met Mile, closing hard to get second. Ran second to Messier in the Westchester, but then won the Grade 2 Carter over Castle Chaos, and also the second to Messier in the Westchester, won the Grade 2 Carter, 8 of 11 starts. There you go. Sired by Frosted, and is trying a route for the first time. I don't believe he's been any further than a mile, so interesting to say there. Post 2 is Disarm. Steve Asmussen trains Joel Rosario, 4-year-old coat by Gunrunner. 94 Brisnet number in the Grade 1, Stephen Foster. Just didn't get there, finished 7th. He's shown a little bit of a liking for Saratoga, though. Ran 104 Brisnet numbers in both the Jim Dandy and the Travers back in 2023. Probably gets a bump on an off track. I don't know what the weather looks like this week, but if we do have a sloppy track or an off track, that horse would get more attention from me. Post 3 is the one to beat. Natty Treasure, National Treasure, Bob Baffert, Flavian Pratt. 4-year-old by Quality Road, dominated out of that Wilson chute in the Met Mile a month or so ago. One previous to that, the Grade 1 Pegasus, and in between those two races, he ran a pretty solid 4th in the Saudi Cup. So, like I said, the one to beat, we'll get into it in the past performances. He's just so good. You can see how fast he is. He's quick, but he doesn't hurry. His speed, he just gets out of the gate so fast, and he's just on you, running really fast before you realize it. I'll show you that when we get to the past performances. Number 4, Warrior Johnny, is trained by Philip Bauer. Tyler Gaffleone rides. 5-year-old Gelding, monster 111 Brisnet number at Saratoga, going 9 furlongs in an 80K optional claimer. He overcame a terrible start, blew by the field, won by 4. So probably in over his skis in this one, but might as well test the waters sometime. Just a quick reminder. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, clicking that like button, spread the word, grow the racing community on YouTube. I so much thank you for the support. Really do appreciate it. Follow me over on X at Billy Ho Sports. Enough shameless plugging. Post number 5 is First Mission. Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, 4-year-old coat by Street Sense, coming off 4th place in the Stephen Foster, on the lead and just unable to hold off the rivals. Should have was decently favored in that race. Pressing style in the Grade 2 Ali Sheba seemed to be better than that, but that Ali Sheba was a much lesser field. I'm really not as high on First Mission as I was previously. Earlier this year, just hasn't really came out firing like I thought he would. But post number 6 is Il Miracolo, and that's Antonio Sano, and Manny Franco rides. 4-year-old by Gunrunner, finished 3rd behind First Mission in the Ali Sheba. Before that, won the Grade 3 Ghost Zapper. Pretty solid horse. I would say a really good Grade 3 type horse, but a couple of tiers below the top here. Post number 7 is Croupy, That's trained by Todd Pletcher. Irad Ortiz gets the mount. Coming off a pretty nice win in the Grade 2 Suburban at the Spa. He then ran second after that at Aqueduct in the Grade 2 Brooklyn Stakes. He wasn't no match. He wasn't no he was no match for next and will need to close into a pace, good pace, I think most likely to win. But I kind of like this horse. I mentioned it in the past performances, but kind of starting to remind me a little bit like Senor Buscador, the way he closes. I think that he can get a win sometime down the road. Probably not here, though. Post 8, Tumbarumba, Brian Lynch, Luis Saez hook up 4-year-old by Oscar Performance. 3 straight second place finishes in some quality graded and stakes and minor stakes, but beaten by tier 2 horses, beaten by Il Miracolo, Steel Sunshine. Good test to see where he's at, but I don't think I like him here. Post number 9 is Bright Future. This is Todd Pletcher once again. Javier Castellano rides. Grade 3 Salvador Mile was his first race of 2024, coming back from the Breeders' Cup Classic where he finished 6th last fall. Definitely a good-looking race to come out of the gate with. 5-year-old sired by Curlin, looking to prove his Grade 1 worth, I think, and won the Jockey Club Gold Cup here last year. So that one is going to be an interesting one to look at. Post number 10 is Skippy Longstocking, Safi Joseph Jr., Jose Ortiz. 5-year-old was on a bit of a roll, won back-to-back graded stakes. Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap was one of them. Then ran a pretty hard-fought third in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster. Lost position, falling back to 4th place, but battled back to get the third and almost got up for second. Just was a little bit short there. So Skippy's a horse that seems to always show up, but is probably a really, really strong Grade 2, dominant Grade 3 type horse. So we'll see what he can do here. Capable at Grade 1 in Grade 1 company. So don't sleep on him completely. Number 11 is Arthur's Ride. That's trained by Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, 4-year-old colt by Tappet. Definitely had some issues in the slop at Churchill Downs, 2 back, going a mile. Just was never really a factor at all. Just, I don't know if he just hated the surface or what happened, but bounced back nicely to win by 12, going a mile and a quarter the next out. Earned a 106 buyer or 106 Brisnet for that. But I don't think I see that performance happening again versus these horses. Post number 12 is Charge It. That's another Todd Pletcher and Johnny V rides. So I wonder, this spot is not better than the last 2 he's had. I feel like Pletcher scratched him out a few times to try to get the right spot. They landed him in the Hanshin Stakes where he was never really even in that. He made a move on the turn, but he just looked really slow down the stretch. So maybe he needed that. Then he came back and then down the stretch again in the Westchester. You can see how easily post-time arrival in this race shifted paths, then ran right by him. So those are concerning to say the least. Now we're going to jump over, look at past performances, and make some early selections. Okay, Grade 1, the Whitney, 1 1/8, Grade 1, $1 million purse, big time race, 4-year-olds and upward. Here is what I like to look at first. You can see it's pretty close in the prime power ratings. In my opinion, it's not, but you can see the class ratings. National Treasure is a little bit better there. Now, Warrior Johnny's that 111, we'll get to that later. We'll talk about it. But this is the pars. I like to look at these. This is what they think that it's going to take to win this race. It's going to take a 105 Brisnet number to win this race. And then the E2, this is kind of something I pay attention to. And you definitely want to be in the mid to low 90s on the late pace. So post time, a closer. But I like the way he stays close up to the pace. You can see within 5 lengths or so of the lead in the stretch there, close to second. But National Treasure was not to be denied that day. And then the previous race, Messier, similar company. This is a 4-year-old running against a 5-year-old. Ran a 102 and was closing down the stretch, was only 4 back there. So hanging in there close. Then the win was second by just a length and a half. So he knows how to keep him up there. Sheldon Russell, more than ample racing. And you can see how many races. I mean, it's win, 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 a third, and then a couple of a little bad stretch here, third, fourth, second, in late November in the fall, but came out firing 104, 103. So you can see how much he's maturing. So interesting horse, definitely threat to win the race. Could be a much closer to National Treasure coming down the stretch this time around with a little bit of added distance. We're going an extra eighth of a mile here than we did in the Met Mile, which was a mile. Disarm, off a bit slow, rode the rail, then saved ground, but had zero kick down the stretch here. And this one, we're in the Stephen Foster. The win previous was just an optional claiming 80K. That was the first off the layoff, which was a made sense. But you can see the minus 27 pace. People were concerned about that, and I was too. But I just thought, well, it's his first off the layoff, not that big a deal. But he came out flat in the next one too. So I expect better because it's Gunrunner, Sire, and Steve Asmussen trainer. Steve comes through in a big way with these big time races. But you can see 12th in prime power for a reason. So here's Natty Treasure. And just number one with a bullet. The thing that I wanted to show you is these pace ratings right here, where I like to see first call, second call. I've probably explained them before in previous videos, but the plus numbers are faster. The minus numbers are slower. So when you get in the plus column of this amount, 16 and up, that's fast pace action there for you. And you can see him leading all the way. He runs a 115 second pace figure, and then he only needed the 87 because he was cruising down the stretch. But you go to this, this is the one I wanted to see, the grade 1, and this was the Pegasus World Cup. Runs a 111 in the middle and a 94 down the stretch, going a mile and an eighth, holding off Senor Buscador and Krupe. Krupe was third in that race, so he dug. So that's he had to dig in to get by those. Another thing that I like about National Treasure, way back here, if you go back to it was, well, the BC Dirt Mile, obviously, had the lead the whole way, hit the stretch firing. And then if it wasn't for Cody's Wish, who was probably the best miler we've seen in decades, coming down the stretch to battle him out and got a head bob. He actually was going by National Treasure, and then National Treasure fought back and made it a head bob. So it really could have been a neck or a whole head in front, but for Cody's Wish. But National Treasure is not one to back down in the stretch, as he was in the Preakness when Blazing Sevens came up on him in the stretch. He almost lost the lead, but then maintained his advantage and dug deep. And actually, I noticed when I rewatched that race, Blazing Sevens was drifting into him, and he was fighting back, going the other direction, and he battled him off. This horse has fight down the stretch. He's not just all speed, all go and no show. He runs plus 16s. He runs plus 13s. He runs 14s coming home, plus 12s. And you won't see any of these other horses doing that. He's going to be too fast. Warrior Johnny, the 111, he's got minus 10, minus 11, much slower pace figures, 48 half mile. And we're running 45 half miles. We're running 46 half miles. So Warrior Johnny's a toss. First Mission is another one that, like I said, I'm a little bit down on. Good pace in the Stephen Foster, but got chewed up down the stretch. Not really. That's kind of a head scratcher, I think. I thought he would run a lot better than that, coming off the win in the Ali Sheba, where he got it done no problem. And then the Essex previous to that. So really, really strong grade 2, grade 3, kind of skippy long stocking type. Maybe just not up for the challenge for the grade 1 here. Maybe just a different spot. We'll see. First Mission, and then Il Maricolo. Like I mentioned before, solid grade 3 horse, but not going to cash in this one. I think he's going to have too much pressure out front where he likes to run. But the next one I do find interesting. Nice 101 here, running third in the Ali Sheba, though. but it was against First Mission, a horse I'm not that high on too. Tumbarumba, you can see the company he keeps right here. So this was the when he faced the grade one competition was 6th by 14 lengths in that fast pace. So here's Krupe, number 7, I think ran third behind Senor Buscador and National Treasure closing rally. Frankie Dettori up. He's got IRAD this time around. Won the Suburban and then finished a distant second to Next. Next is a really good, he's a top 10 older male horse, but ran second to him and was looked really strong with the 100 figure. A horse that I would definitely have in exotics because he can close, and especially if the pace is hotly contested, he's going to be cleaning up the pieces. So keep an eye on Krupe. Tumbarumba, like I said, similar to Il Miracolo, I think. Nice grade 3 horse in the right spot. This isn't it, I don't think. Sub 100 Brisnet numbers would need this 105 down here where he ran third, but not happening here. Bright Future, this is the interesting one. He's got the capability, 104s, 105s, but didn't quite have it yet. We don't know. That was the first off the layoff, ran a nice 98, a solid race. 112 on the late pace is strong. So to get the win. So needed to really rally hard to beat Coastal Mission, though. So that was really the only horse. It was a little bit of a weak field, in my opinion. So maybe another tier 2 horse in this race. And then you have Skippy Longstocking up next. Skippy just shows up. I mean, he rarely fails to show up. Like I said, he fought back for that third place finish in the Stephen Foster. He's an upper tier 2 horse. You can see he's run third in the big. He was in the Breeders' Cup Mile, third right behind Cody's Wish and National Treasure, just by a little bit. But won those back-to-back races here, 102s, 97s, 102 late pace figures, 97. Those are strong middle and late pace numbers. So I would definitely include Skippy in your exotics. Arthur's Ride. I can't explain this one. I watched them both, but he just didn't take to the slop or didn't take to Churchill. I don't know what happened here, but he was never engaged, really didn't have any trip trouble or anything, but just was the beaten favorite, 1.53 in the odds and 9th by 23. So just tired out. He wasn't even eased up either. He just got wore out going a mile and then turns around a month later and goes a mile and a quarter and dominates. Now, it was a significant drop in class. You went from 80K down to 62K. So he's winning at these mid-tier. That just tells me right there he doesn't have the class. So I'm going to toss that one. And then here's Charge It, the rounding out the field. And I already mentioned how slow he looked in the stretch on the last couple of races. Outside post, I don't think does him any favors either. You can see he's diminishing. He dropped big time after the Westchester, but so he just hasn't had that form he showed back last summer in July. I don't know if he's got these 103s and 109s. I watched that Suburban race and there wasn't really any. I mean, the horses that were in that race are pale in comparison to what he'll face this week. So Charge It to me is a toss as well. So now we're going to get to the end of the video, make some final selections, and get on out of here. So it's all about the Natty Treasure, number 3. It's a gap after that. National Treasure, just number 1 with a bullet. Effortlessly fast. I don't know about the mile and a quarter, so the 10 furlong classic distance might be a little tough for him. I think he can get there, but it's getting that last 1/8 of a mile is a tough one. But 9 furlongs or less, he just dominates. I think if you get him at a mile, he'll destroy anybody. I think he'll handle this field without much early pressure. Post Time, I think, has the best chance to catch him with the little added distance. Post Time and Krupe, I like the 2 closers here. Like I mentioned before, Krupe reminds me a little bit of Senor Buscador, the way he's kind of coming into his own in these last few races. Senor Buscador finally did break through, like in I think the San Diego last summer. And then, of course, you saw the big win overseas in the Middle East, coming down the stretch and beating horses like National Treasure, Senor Buscador, that is. So Krupe could follow in those footsteps one day, probably not this day. Bright Future and number 10, Skippy, are both contenders and ought to be used underneath. So I'm going to update these selections. If anything changes, scratches, or anything like that later in the week, obviously there's going to be more Saratoga content coming soon. So be on the lookout. Also, finally, one last time, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and give me a follow over on X, formerly Twitter, at Billy Ho Sports. Thanks for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And see you soon.